So let's review. The daf begins with several activities to avoid, lest it cause chimutz of grain. First, Mazutra says not to add flour from pre-baked grain to a pot of cooked food, just in case the grain was not fully baked and its flour can become chametz. Second, Rabbi Yosef says not to put two kernels of wheat in boiling water because one might get caught inside the other one and become chametz, because it does not get boiled on all four sides. Third, Abai originally says not to burn two stalks of grain together because the juices might come out of one and go into the other, causing it to become chametz. Rava says this is mutter, because the moisture from grain is considered mei peris, and mei peris einon machmitzin, fruit juices do not cause chametz. V'hader be'Abai mahi. Ultimately, Abai agrees with Rava that it is mutter to burn the stalks together, but not because mei peris in machmitzin, because Abai holds that mei peris can cause chametz. He retracted because kol agav midlahu loy mechamtzi. While liquid is still flowing, it does not cause chametz. Finally, Abai says that we should not toast grain in a kli that is standing upright, because the juices that stay in the kli will cause chametz. Here too, Rava disagrees because mei peris einon machmitzin. The Gemara goes on to discuss lesisa, soaking grain. Tan Rabbanan, ein loisin sa'urim bepesach. We may not soak barley on Pesach. If they were soaked but did not develop any cracks, they're mutter. If they did develop cracks, and according to Rav Chizdi, even if they could potentially crack when placed over a barrel of wine, the Tanna Kama holds they're aser, and Rabbi Yossi holds they can be soaked in vinegar to reverse the chimutz process. This was all with regard to barley. What about soaking wheat? Bal nefesh lo yiltos. Rabba holds a bal nefesh should stay away from soaking wheat. Rav Nachman says it is mutter even for a bal nefesh to soak wheat, which is necessary to get white flour. Rava changed his mind a few times on this issue. Rava originally said, Asr lultes. It is not just for a bal nefesh to avoid, but completely asr to soak wheat. He later said, Mutter lultes. It is mutter to soak wheat because the Mishnah says we can use pas nekiya from matzah, and the only way to get pas nekiya is by soaking the grain. The Gemara brings a few proofs against this assumption that lesisa is necessary to make pas nekiya. Hadarama mitzvah lultes. Ultimately, Rava held it is a mitzvah to soak the wheat because there is a requirement of shmira that must begin before the dough is kneaded. If lesisa is not required, why would shmira be necessary? Even though Rava's proof that shmira has to start early is rejected, Rava did not retract and instructed his people who would work with the raw grain in the field to do so l'shem mitzvah. Hahu arva dechiti. A boat carrying grain sank and all the grain became wet. At first, Rava said it is okay to sell it to Nachrim before Pesach. When Rava was reminded that the Brisa does not allow selling to a Nachri, a beged that has hard to find shatness in it because he might turn around and sell it to a Yisrael, he changed his ruling. Instead, Rava suggested selling very small quantities to Jews so that they can finish it before Pesach. Tan Rabban, ein moileden es hakdera bePesach. The Brisa says that flour may not be added to a pot of food unless noisnes hakemach ve'achar kach noisnes hachemetz. Vinegar is added immediately after. B'yeshaimim, af noisnes hachemetz ve'achar kach noisnes hakemach. Some say that we can first put in the vinegar. The Gemara identifies the Yesh Aimim as Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that even vinegar that is already mixed with food speeds up the cooking. We cannot say that the Yesh Aimim is Rabbi Yossi, who said that vinegar will reverse the chimetz process, because perhaps Rabbi Yossi only believes vinegar has this power when it is be'en, pure and undiluted. But when already mixed with other ingredients, he would hold that it does not prevent chimetz. Ula holds that we should never add flour to a pot, even if vinegar is added, because lech lech amrina nazira schar schar likam sikrev. As we advise in Nazir not to even go close to a vineyard, we advise staying away from all potential cases of Isser. Zak the Mishnah, a noisni kemach l'teich charoises or l'teich achardel. This is not our charoises, but a dip of vinegar and water into which all year they would add flour. The Mishnah is teaching that on Pesach, one should not put flour into this charoises or mustard. If it was already done, the Tanna Kama says, Yechel miyad, eat it right away before it becomes chametz, but Remeir Eiser. Remeir says you may not eat it at all. The Gemara brings a machlekes amiram, whether this machlekes about what to do if flour is mixed in applies only to the case of mustard or even to the case of charoises. Rav Kahana holds that if flour went into charosis, both Tanoim would agree it must be burned and not eaten because the vinegar promotes chimetz. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yehuda holds that the machlekes Tanoim applies equally to both cases because the Tanna Kama holds that vinegar does not promote chimetz to that extent.